Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Maseches CHULLIN Daf Kuf Yud Zayin. We begin at the Mishnah, which is on the bottom of Kuf Zayin Amud Beis. So today we're going to learn about two materials within an animal which are forbidden. One is the chaylev, the forbidden fats, and the other is dam, the blood. We're going to match these two items up, compare them, and tell them apart. Says the Mishnah, Chaymer b'chaylev mi b'dam. We find stringencies in chaylev not found in blood, and vice versa as well. V'chaymer b'dam mi b'chaylev. Chaymer b'chaylev. What are the chumras found in chaylev, not found in blood? Sha'chaylev, because regarding chaylev, we turn to the next page, Mayal Boy, there is me'ilah on chaylev. Rashi explains, if the chaylev is part of a carbon animal, and one eats that chaylev, he has committed me'ilah, aside from doing the isra of eating chaylev, he has committed me'ilah by diverting carbon material for personal use. He's now subject to the laws of me'ilah with the requirement to bring a carbon, etc., etc. But that doesn't apply to blood, as the Gemara will explain. Furthermore, right, so if this chaylev is part of a carbon, which went awry, it was turned into pigel, the kohen had some devious plans when he did the akrava, or v'noiser, the carbon was left beyond its expiry date, v'tami, or if a person who personally is tummy approaches this material and eats it, so aside from the fact that he's eating chaylev, which is in itself forbidden, there's an additional isser because it's pigel, because it's nicer, because it's tummy. Ma she'enken b'dam, as opposed to blood of a carbon, which is not subject to me'ilah, which is not subject to pigel, nicer, or tummy. On the other hand, v'chaymer b'dam, we have chumrais found by dam that don't apply to chaylev. Because you see, chaylev, as Rashi brings, is learned from the pasuk, "Nabehema she'akrivim mimenu karban l'Hashem." The fats are meant for the mizbeach. It's not meant for personal use, and this only applies if, in fact, it's a behema that can be used as a carbon. A behema tahira, kosher behema. So it has to be behema. It has to be tahira. But let's say the chaylev of a chaya, which in any case doesn't serve as a carbon, or a bird, or a oif, pasuk doesn't apply chaylev, isra chaylev, to an oif. Okay, so chaylev only applies to behema tahira, and not to anything else, as opposed to dam, which applies to all three. V'chaymer b'dam sh'adam noheg b'behema v'chaya v'oif bein tmeim bein tahirim, whether it's a kosher animal or unkosher animal, bein tmeim bein tahirim. But chaylev is limited to behema tahira. V'chaylev ein noheg, chaylev only applies to ela b'behema tahira b'lvad. Now, how do we know that me'ilah applies to all types of chaylev? I understand the chaylev of a higher level carbon, Kaddish Kadashim, which is already subject to the laws of me'ilah during its lifetime. What about Kachim Kalam, like a shlamim, which is not subject to laws of me'ilah during its lifetime? It's considered its owner's possession. It's not, Lashem, it's not something, me'ilah is specific to something which is exclusively Hashem's, the Mizbeach's, but something which is privately owned at this point, doesn't have me'ilah. Nevertheless, the Mishnah seems to say that me'ilah comes and hops onto the chaylev after the shechita of the carbon. When it's already, on its way to the mizbeach, then it gets me'ilah. How do we know that it has me'ilah now, despite the fact that it didn't have me'ilah beforehand? How do we know the me'ilah by the chaylev applies even by kachim kalim? Right? As Rashi points out, despite the absence of me'ilah during its lifetime. Okay, so how do we know that after it's processed and the dam is put in the mizbeach, the chaylev and all the parts of the shlamim have me'ilah? Amar Rabbi Yanai, the pasuk says like this. Rashi says this is the pasuk by par kohen Mashiach, the cow that the kohen Mashiach, the kohen Gadol brings upon sinning. And the pasuk seems to be learning something from a shlamim to this carbon. Just like you separate, whatever parts you separate from the shlamim and place on the mizbeach, you do to this carbon as well. Now, why do we need to import information from shlamim to Kohen Mashiach, where it already says everything right here locally? What are we trying to learn from there? Rashi explains it's all said over here. It says everything is over here. Why do we need to go look for other sources? Says the Gemara, no, it looks like he's teaching something, that the Shlamim is trying to teach something. But somebody he's really learning. Sometimes a Rebbe looks like he's teaching, but really, the ones that he learns the most from are from his students, right? Okay, so the Shlamim looks like he's teaching something, right? We're learning from the Shlamim to us. No, but really the Shlamim, the other way around, he's learning from us. He's learning from the Parkoi Mashiach. In what way? Makish Shoir Zavach HaShlamim. Torah is now connecting the Shlamim to the Parkoi Mashiach, which is Kodesh Kadosh, to teach us. Ma Parkoi Mashiach Yesh B'Milah, just like the Parkoi Mashiach, which is Kodesh Kadosh. Right? So even during its lifetime, there was Milah on it. Right? So just like over there's Milah on the emurim, on the parts that belong on the mizbeach after shchita, there's Milah on that. Ma Parkoi Mashiach Yesh B'Milah Av Shor Zavach HaShlamim Yesh B'Milah. Likewise, Milah will apply to the fats and all the things that go on the mizbeach from the shlamim. So that's our source, that a chaylev is subject to Milah, even though it's a chaylev of kachim kal. Amalei Rabbi Chanina turns to him, why do you need to look for another source? Chu'urazu, is it unappealing to you? The source that Rebbe taught us, Shana Rebbe, based on a different pasuk called Chaylev L'Hashem? Kol Chaylev L'Hashem? Rashi explains, this is a pasuk by Kadishim Kalim, to say that even the Chaylev of Kadishim Kalim is L'Hashem. It's Hashem's domain. It's subject to Me'ilah. Right? It's called Kadshe Hashem, on which there's Me'ilah. L'Rab is to include, to cover, to expand Me'ilah to even the Imurei, the parts that belong on the Mizbeach, the fats of Kachim Kalam and Me'ilah. They're subject to Me'ilah. We have a source. Why look for a new source? Abai says we need both sources. It's true, we need both sources. Each one serves a different purpose. Ikas Rachman Kol Chaylev L'Hashem. If only from this most recent pasuk of Rebbe, Havamin, I would say it's limited to something which is really fat. Chaylev fat has Milah. But let's say you have portions of the carbon which are destined for the Mizbeach, but aren't technically fat material. The kidneys, etc. Yeseres, I say Yeseres HaKavid, Ushtei HaKloyes, maybe they're not covered by this directive. Kas Rachmana, that necessitates the former pasuk, the equation between Shlamim and Parkoi Mashiach. Kasar Rachmana Kashayuram, to tell you that all the parts that are destined for the Mizbeach, even by the Shlamim they have Milah. And over there we have all kinds of parts, not just Chaylev, we have all the parts of the Parkoi Mashiach. And likewise, the parallel list of parts by the Shlamim will be subject to Milah. On the other hand, because Rachmana Kashayuram, if only from that pasuk, Havamin, I would say, it only applies to portions of the carbon that are found by an ox, because after all, we're sourcing it in the Parkoi Mashiach, which is a cow, which is an ox family. So maybe only those will be subject to Me'ilah. Havamina Chaylev Alya. What about a Chaylev of the Alya? The fatty part, the tail part, which is only found by a sheep. The Lessa B'Shar, it's not found by an ox. Perhaps it's not subject to Me'ilah if it's in a Shlamim. Kos Rachman Kol Chaylev. Comes the next pasuk, Kol Chaylev, such an expansive term to cover even this. Even the Chaylev of the Aliyah, of the Keves, of the Shlamim to Me'ilah. Okay. So what you're saying is, Amalei Rav Mari, the Rav Zvid, so what we're saying is, the Aliyah, Ikri Chaylev, if you're calling the Aliyah Chaylev, you're saying Kol Chaylev covers the Aliyah, even though it's not technically a piece of fat, it's a tail, it's a fatty tail area. So you're considering it fat, Titzer B'Achila? So then, in a regular setting, not a carbon setting, an ordinary animal that was shechted at home, we don't eat the fat. Well, if you're calling this fat, then this is also off limits. Right? You can't have it both ways. It goes hand in hand. If it's fat for this, it's fat for that. If the aliyah is considered the chaylev regarding me'ilah, so it's considered chaylev regarding isser to eat it, like any other fat. Omar Lacy says, no, alecha makron. This the pasuk says in response to your argument. The pasuk says, kol chaylev shor v'chesav eis. This is the pasuk which discusses the isser of eating fat in general. Kol chaylev shor v'chesav eis. To tell you, only material which is equally found all around by the shor and by the chesed, that's asr. Davar hashava b'shor v'chesav eis. So regarding isur achila, we have our own parameter, our own guidelines. It has to be something which is found in all the animals equally, as opposed to the aliyah, which is only by the sheep, so it's not asur b'achila. Rav Ashi says, regarding your question, why is the aliyah generally not considered like fat regarding eating? Rav Ashi Amar chel b'ha'aliyah. The pasuk in instructing us to put it on the mizbeach says chel b'ha'aliyah tamima. So it's not just chelev; it's chel b'ha'aliyah. Has that added descriptive term? Ikri, that's what it's called. Chelev stamala ikri. It's not called plain fat, and therefore, regarding isur achila, that only applies to plain chelev. But this is not plain chelev. Says the Gemara, okay, but then you can't have it both ways. You're saying it's not really regular fat regarding forbidding consumption, so then it's not considered part of the pasuk of kol chelev l'Hashem regarding me'ilah. On the one hand, we're saying that the aliyah area is included in kol chelev l'Hashem. That's what we need, kol chelev l'Hashem, included in the aliyah. Then you're saying, in a regular case of a regular ordinary animal at home, you can eat it because it's not really chelev. So if it's not regular chelev for eating, so it's not considered kol chelev l'Hashem regarding me'ilah. You're right, Ela Machvarta. Says the Gemara, you're right. The correct approach is Kedr Rav Zvid, as per the earlier approach, that in fact the aliyah is considered chelev, and that's why it's covered by the pasuk kol chelev Hashem regarding me'ilah. Now regarding the isser to eat fat, well, we have a special rule for that it only applies to materials that are found throughout all the classes of animals, and the aliyah is not found by the shor. Okay, so at the end of the day, what we're saying is, Mila by Kachei Kadashim is pretty straightforward. It applies to the entire animal, even during its lifetime. Certainly after the Shechita, it applies to the Imurin as well. Regarding Kachim Kalim, that's a Chiddush to say that Mila sort of arrives at a later time, and that's learned from a combination of two psukim. One is the correlation between a shlamim, which is kachim kalam, to the parkay mashiach was kachim kachim, to tell you that the me'ilah applies by the kachim kalam as well, by the shlamim. But we required another pasuk as well, kachel Hashem, because each one has its own point. The first pasuk would say, anything which applies by a shoyer would have me'ilah by the. But what about an aliyah? That's what we need, kol chelev. On the other hand, kol chelev is only fat. Maybe what about kidneys and stuff like that? So that's what we need, the other pasuk to tell you all the parts, whether it's the kloyos, the seres hakavod, the chelev, the aliyah, which is destined for the mizbeach. It's called kachei Hashem and has me'ilah. Now regarding isur achilas chelev, that only applies to regular chelev, not to the aliyah, which is not found by Yeshar. Okay, Masha'enkim Medam. Mishnah continues that me'ilah applies to chelev, likewise pigul, nois, or tummy, but dam is free of all these labels. How do we know? The me'ilah does not apply to dam, nor does pigul, nois, and tummy. Omar ulo damakra. We have three psukim. Lochem. So the pasuk, in speaking about the blood, says, don't eat blood, right? Which is the life force of the animal, which was given to you. It says, Vanina sate lochem. I gave it to you for your benefit, Hashem says, for you, for us, that we should use it for kapara. We can use the blood of a carbon for kapara. Amakra, lochem, shalachem yehei, it's yours, it's for your benefit. Which means to say, it's not subject for me'ilah. Me'ilah applies to something which is designated for kachei Hashem, for the mizbeach. Here it's just the opposite. Torah is saying, look, Take it for your own sake, for your benefit. Use it for kapara. So although it's ironic because it's really going on the mizbeach and actually it facilitates the kapara of the carbon, right? But ultimately the point is for our benefit. Perhaps you can add a twist that the carbon represents the owner. The dam of the carbon represents the dam of the person. So ultimately, it's really representation of ourselves, and that's what it means. Lachem, it's shlachem yehei, and there's no me'ilah on that. V'rei b'shmal tana, we have another source. L'chaper, it's meant for kapara only. L'kapar nasativ. I granted it to you for atonement purposes. V'lo me'ilah, it's not going to generate me'ilah. Third pasuk, Rabbi Yechon Amar. Amar Kol, the pasuk says who. Right? It says Adam hu b'nefesh yechaper. Who means it stays as is. Hu l'fnei kapar glach kapar. The status of the blood, even before kapar, even before it was placed on the mizbeach, before the kapar was accomplished, has the same status as post kapar, as after the blood was put on the mizbeach and there's some leftovers, which means malach kapar, just like after the kapar process. It's obvious that ein bo me'ilah is no me'ilah anymore. It's done. So the leftovers is just leftover from the process, no me'ilah. Right? Once it's been processed, once the zrika happened, the leftover blood is already done, it's over. It's after the fact, there's no me'ilah. Likewise, after kapara, ein bo me'ilah, likewise, even before the kapara happened, the blood itself, which is awaiting kapara, awaiting zrika on the mizbeach, has no me'ilah. And soon we're going to see why we need 3 psukim. Okay. Says the Gemara, but you're going this way. Pre-Zrika is like post-Zrika. Efshefakert, maybe take it the other way around, twist it backwards. Vema, perhaps we can say that the word who is teaching la'acha kapara, the blood even after the kapara, has me'ilah, just like before the kapara, kilofnei kapara. Right? Malofnei kapara, yesh b'milah, just like before kapara, of course, is me'ilah, because it's awaiting the mizbeach. Af la'acha kapara yesh b'milah, because even after kapara has me'ilah. So how do you know to go this way? Maybe go the other way. No, you can't say that. In the chodavar shenasa mitzvah, we never find that after a mitzvah had been accomplished, had been done with the item, it should still have me'ilah. It's done. It's finished. In which case you can't suggest that the blood after this zrika will have me'ilah. So you have to go the other way. Who is teaching that pre is like post? Just like post is me'ilah free, likewise pre. But really you never find that me'ilah applies even post experience. Right, the ash samplings that they take off the mizbeach in the morning, they place it on the floor, get swallowed in miraculously, right? So even after the fact, even after it was removed from the mizbeach, there's still me'ilah applicable. The pasuk says v'samay, places it there, leaves it there. Don't touch it, don't use it. It's on mizbeach. Says the Gemara, you're right, but that's one exception. And actually, we have another exception. And we know that when we have 2 exceptions, they cannot be used as a source for elsewhere. We have Tumas Hadeshin just mentioned, and also Abidei Kihuna, the Kohen Gadol's white begotten, used on Yom Kippur, that cannot be reused. So even after the experience, if after the use, they're still off limits. So these are Shnei Ksuv and Aban Keach, 2 psukim, they're teaching the same idea. What we have a repetition on a given matter. The point is you can't apply it elsewhere. Otherwise the Torah would just say it once, and then we would say, okay, everything is like this. Why repeat it again and again? To tell you it only applies here and here. These are 2 exceptions. But otherwise, once the mitzvah was done, it's over. There's no me'ilah. Okay, this notion that you have 2 exceptions, that only works according to the Rabbanan's understanding. Hanichal Rabbanan. Good, according to the Rabbanan. Damn, you say, V'nicham sham, this is the pasuk by the Kohen Gadol's big day kahuna. Once they were used, you have to leave them there. We should say they're off limits, put them away. Malamed, we learn, Shatur Neglizi, you have to hide them, put them away. So now we have 2 psukim, 2 cases, which are exceptions. Elul Rab Daisa, according to Rab Daisa's understanding, the Amar who says, it doesn't mean you got to put it away. It just means to say, they should not be reused next year on Yom Kippur again. That's all. It's not saying that it's usher to use. Let's say a regular kohen wants to use it throughout the year. It's the same for white begadim. He could. Ela l'Rav Dei Sadama, who says shlo yishtamish ben Yom Kippurim acher. Just don't use it next Yom Kippur again. So now there's no indication that it's off limits. So now all you have is one exception, Trumas Hadeshin. So why not use that as a catalyst, as a source material for everywhere else? We find that even after the avodah was done, the material can still retain its meila, Michael Amim. Answer is, we have another case. We have Trumas Hadeshin, which is one, and also have Egla Rufa, the calf which was beheaded when they discovered the victim on the road. So even after the experience, it remains forbidden. Rashi brings the pasuk v'arf sham, on the bottom line of Rashi, sham take karasa, leave it there, bury it there, it's off limits. So these are two cases, shnei ksuvim, Abayin ke'echad, teaching the same concept, and it's meant to be limited to those two. V'chol shnei ksuvim, Abayin ke'echad, ein melam, then they cannot be expanded elsewhere. Yeah, hanich l'madar ein melam, that's good according to the opinion, you can't expand it. Elo l'madar ein melam, according to the opinion that allows to expanding. In this case, Michael Lememar. So back to the question. So just like in these, the Isser or the Me'ilah remains and retains even after the fact. So why not say that to the apply that to the blood as well? It says the Gemara Trei Mi'ute Ksifi. There are indications in the pasuk that's limited to these cases. We have a mute once and again. Ha Ksiv V'Samai. By the Trumas Hadeshin, it says V'Samai, place it, which means to say this concept is limited to Trumas Hadeshin, despite it being post activity, it's still asur. Hasam Ksiv Harufa. By the Arufa, it also says Ha Arufa. Ha, it applies only to this one and not to others. Now back to the obvious question in the sugya. We started with 3 psukim to exclude blood from these halachas. We have lochem, we have lachaper, we have hu, trasa, kroi, lamili b'dam. Why do we need 3 psukim by dam? The answer is to exclude it from 3 halachas. Chad, one is lamutim min neiser, to exclude it from neiser. V'chad lamutim min ilah, one is to exclude it from ilah. V'chad lamutim min tumah. The third is to exclude it from halachas of tumah. So what this means is if a person was tamei, and you should be keeping away from carbon material if he eats the blood. So sure, he's eating blood, he's chayiv for that, but he's not chayiv the additional chiyuv for eating it when he's tummy, and likewise, me'ilah and iser. Aval mipigala tarakra. The truth is we have a third concept, which the Mishnah discusses, that pigel does not affect dam, and we should need a 4th pasuk for that. No, we don't need a pasuk for that, because that's obvious. We all learned, in Zvachim, spent a lot of time on this, right? Pigel applies to a recipient. So when the kohen had a machshava of pigel while he was processing the carbon, while he was doing the zrika, right? I'm gonna eat the meat next week. I'm gonna makra of the emura next week. That's pigel. What gets affected by that diversion? So a carbon typically has 2 elements. There's a mater and a niter. It's like the driver and the passenger, right? Typically the blood is a mater, because by applying the blood on the mizbeach, that gives a green light to consumption of the carbon. For the niter, the permitted material to be consumed, the meat to the kohen, the emurim to the mizbeach, right? And therefore they're affected by the activity going on during the processing of the mater, the machshava of the kohen when he's doing the mater. It's a machshava of pigel, so the niter becomes pigel. If one eats it, he gets kares, because he's a recipient of that mater. So only a recipient gets the status of pigel, but blood is not a recipient. He's a driver. He's a mater. He is a permitter, so he doesn't become pigel, right? So of course, dam is exempt from pigel. Aval and pigel tzarkro, we don't need a pasuk for that to exempt dam from pigel istam. We have a mishnah. Kol sheyesh lematir. Any material which is a recipient of a matir, like flesh, like a emurim, bein the adam, whether it's flesh that's being permitted for personal consumption, bein the mizbeach, whether it's the emurim, the fat, which are being permitted for mizbeach consumption, they're on the receiving end of the mater's influence, then if the mater was done with pigul, chayav l'lavim shem pigul. So those become subject to halachas of pigul. But the blood itself, Adam Gufa, he himself is a materhu. So he doesn't get affected by pigul status. Okay, it's the end of the day. We matched up chelev with dam. We have advantages on both sides of the equation. Chelev has me'ilah, has pigul neser retame, as opposed to dam, as we just learned. On the other hand, dam is more expansive than chelev. It applies to behema chayiv oif, tami, and tahor, whereas chelev is limited to behema tahor v'avad. Hadam l'chalabas. It says the Mishnah. Hi. Rashi explains, this piece of skin of an animal was holding, right, what was attached to it? Some basar. Okay, we're talking about a regular animal, shechted animal, kosher animal. And there's some flesh, basar, which is food material, which is susceptible to tumas oichlin, right? Food which comes into contact with tumah becomes tummy, provided it has a shear, has the proper quantity, the shear of kibetza, the size of an egg. Suppose the flesh itself doesn't have an egg's worth, but the skin around it, if factored in, tops it off to a kibetza. Right? So halacha is that since the skin is a shomer, it's wrapping it, it's protecting it, shielding it from getting spoiled. It's called a shomer. That can be factored in to top up the shear, to complete the shear kibetza. And now the food is makabel tumah. Okay, so in this paragraph we'll speak about shomer, a wrapper, a protector, something which shields the food material within it. How it's mitzdarif. It's mitzdarif. It can be joined and combined together, factored in to the shear. Ha'or, v'haroitev. Roitev, Rashi explains, is glira, like a gel, like a gala, congealed, fatty cartilage material, or whatever. So Rashi says it's typically not eaten as is, but if it's together, it's sitting, a layer of this pacha, whatever it's called, it's sitting on the flesh. Again, it can be mitzdarif. Rashi says here it's because it's derech la'oichla ki sheikrush ala basar. It's typical to eat it together with the meat, so it's batal, it's tuffle, it becomes part of the meat, and it's mitzdarif to the shear. Kifa, Rashi says tavlin, seasonings, which aren't typically eaten separately, but if it's together with the meat, it's mitzdarif and can be joined together in the shear. Va'alal, this is something which the Gemara will explain for us, about samais. Here's another example of a shemer. You have bones, in which there is marrow, which is edible, and the bone is surrounding it, protecting it, so it's mitzdarif, the shear of the marrow. V'agidin, likewise, these sinews. V'karnaim, horns. Rashi explained, talking about the lower portion of the horn, and the test is if you would cut it, would it bleed? So then it sort of connects with the food adjacent to it, and it's considered a shomer. Vatlafayim, likewise the hooves, which protect the food material connected to them. All these are mitzdarfin. They're mitzdarf, which means to say that you can factor them in to get to the total shiur of a kibetza, l'tamid tumas oichlin, regarding tumas oichlin, as we explained. Avaloi tumas neveles. So we discussed a very basic tumah called tumas oichlin. Food is typically not tummy, right? Regular food, innocent piece of food is okay. Tumas oichlin means it's susceptible to tumah, so if it comes into contact with a nevela, whatever, it gets tumah. Now, although it needs a share of a kibetza, and it doesn't have it, but the shomer is mitzdarif, tops it up to give it a share kibetza. Regarding this lighter tumah called tumas oichlin. There's another tumah that applies to flesh, which is tumas nevelas. Let's say it's a real dead animal. So that flesh is a self-generator of tumah, and a very severe tumah. It becomes an ava tumah, father of tumah, source of tumah. Now there we need a different type of shear, a different amount. We're talking about the volume of a kazayas, the size of an olive. Suppose the flesh of the nevela is here, but there's no kazayas. Can these materials join together? Can they be mitzdarif to top it up to get a share kazayas? No, because the idea that a shomer is mitzdarif is limited to the lighter tumah, not to the heavier tumah of tumas nevela, which we'll learn in the Gemara and source properly. Avoid tumas nevelas. So here's a case where, in a way, you can say tumas oichlin has an advantage over Tumas Nevelis. A Shomer is mitzaref to Oichlin, not to Nevelis. Kayetzu, another example where Tumas Oichlin has one up over Tumas Nevelis. Hashoichet is a unique case. Hashoichet behema tmeya. So there are four elements to keep in mind here. Hashoichet. One did shchita. Shchita, of course, could only be done by a Yisrael. A guy can't do shchita, halachically approved shchita. So a Yisrael did the shchita. On what? Not on a regular animal. Very unconventional, behema tmeya. Unkosher animal. Okay, shechted a horse. But not for himself. Lo eved kichamid, on behalf of a guy. Fourth element, umafarches. It's not yet fully dead, it's still flapping. So in this limbo state, what's its status? It's not really dead. So it's not going to be considered an avela. Right? But it is mitzhama tumas oichlin. It does have food status regarding susceptibility to tumas oichlin. Avaloi but not regarding tumas nevelas until it really dies. Ashatamas or achiatas azroishi severs the head completely, which case has a status of a fully dead animal and it's mitame tumas nevelas. Now what's going on? Rashi explains like this. You see, a guy has no concept of shchita. So if he does shchita, it doesn't really count. Furthermore, for a guy to eat meat, it has to be fully dead. A guy cannot eat Eiver min HaChai, a live animal, even after shchita. It's not really dead yet. But if Yisrael does the shchita, right? So, although a guy, Rashi explains, a guy cannot eat it yet. So again, a guy cannot eat a live animal. He has to wait until it's fully dead. So even the act of shchita doesn't help him until the animal is actually dead, not exhibiting signs of life at all. Because the idea of shchita, the concept of shchita, is exclusive to Yisrael. However, regarding tumas oichlin, if a Yisrael did the shchita, and his purpose was for the guy, he was doing it for the sake of the guy, that renders it food, gives it food status. Because the act of shchita applies to a Yisrael. He can make shchita. And since we find that Yisrael, through his shchita by a kosher animal, permits it for consumption, likewise, his act of shchita with the intent of serving it to a guy will consider it to be food material, even though it's an unkosher animal and it's for a guy. Interesting. So you need a Yisrael doing it. You need an act of shchita, because Yisrael is the one that's authorized to do shchita. So if he actually does an act of shchita, and although it's an unkosher animal, but if he's doing it for the guy, you can eat an unkosher animal. So at this point, it is already considered food material. Not that the guy can eat it, but regarding tumas oichlin. Interesting. So it's already labeled as food. And again, even though it's mefarachesed, it's still exhibiting, some signs of life. God can't eat it, but it's already considered food. The Yisrael fashioned it into food. Very interesting halacha. Avaloi tumas nevela, it's not considered nevela. So if an animal would be mefarachesed, sort of half alive, it's not a carcass. It didn't die yet, right? Without an act of shchita, right? So if it dies, it's an avela, but if it's not fully dead, it's not an avela. So we find another unique circumstance where you have tumas oichlin without tumas nevela. Oh, riba latame tumas oichlin. So we have two examples with the Torah expanded and applied tumas oichlin mimashe riba latame tumas nevelas over the more limited spectrum of tumas nevelas. Okay, read the Aimer. Ha'alal ha'mechunos. Again, the Gemara will discuss exactly what alal is. If it's together, gathered together, if you found the kazayis in one spot, chayav alal b'chayav on it. Okay, we'll get that in the Gemara. Just read 2 lines in the Gemara, and then the rest we'll leave for tomorrow. Reda Hashem. Tanina, so our Mishnah, in fact, supports Now, Mishnah which says that the idea of a shomer, protector, a wrapper, or seal, can be mitzdaref regarding tumas oichlin and not regarding tumas nevelos, Tani L'Adon Rabbanon, supports the content of the Brisa, which likewise teaches us, shomrim, the concept of a shomer to be mitzdaref, is limited to tumah kala, to the lighter tumah, to tumas oichlin, but not veloi, shomrim were not said or applied the tumah chamura regarding the more severe tumah of tumas nevela. There you need a kazayas of actual flesh. You cannot include the shomer. We'll see the sources tomorrow, B'ez Hashem. In the meantime, we have a Mishnah listing two advantages, so to speak, that are found by tumas oichlin over tumas nevelos. One is the idea of the shomer being mitzdaref to the shear, and the other one is the animal which is mechar cheses, which in a certain very specific circumstance has the din of tumas oichlin, but not tumas nevelos. Okay, all the best to you. Natzlacha.